Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today, we aren't just talking about tennis. We aren't just talking about a medal. We are talking about a collision of unstoppable force and immovable bias. We are talking about a moment in sports history that will be replayed, analyzed, and debated for years to come. The headline you've been seeing is real. The entire tennis world is in absolute shock, but perhaps not for the reasons you might think. Yes, the gold is going home to the Philippines, but the road to that podium was paved with controversy, hostility, and a level of psychological warfare that would have shattered a lesser athlete. We are looking at the 2025 Southeast Asian Games in Thailand. The stage? The women's singles finals. The protagonist? The 20-year-old Filipina sensation, Alexandra Eala. The antagonist? Not just her opponent, the local favorite Sawanki, but an entire stadium, a hostile atmosphere, and, most shockingly, a series of officiating calls that seemed designed to strip the victory away from her. We witnessed 3 distinct, questionable calls. We saw a partisan crowd engaging in tribal cheers, actively rooting for errors. We saw a scenario where the host nation's pressure was suffocating. And yet, in the face of what many are calling blatant bias, Eala did not crumble. She did not rage. She delivered a masterclass in silence. Winning 6-1, 6-2, she didn't just beat her opponent. She beat the narrative. She broke a 26-year drought for the Philippines, securing the first women's singles gold since 1999. This is a story of how silence conquered noise. This is a story of Alexandra Eala versus the world. Let's dive deep. To truly understand the gravity of what transpired in Thailand, we have to strip away the scoreboard for a moment and look at the atmosphere. Context is everything in the Southeast Asian Games. This isn't Wimbledon. This isn't the U.S. Open. The SEA Games are a different beast entirely. It is a regional Olympics where national pride is dialed up to a fever pitch. When you are playing against a host nation, on their soil, in their facility, you are not just playing an athlete. You are playing against the infrastructure, the history, and the collective will of thousands of people screaming for your failure. Alexandra Eala walked into this final, carrying the weight of a nation. The Philippines had not seen a gold medal in this event for over 2 decades. 26 years. The last time this happened was in 1999. Think about that. An entire generation of tennis players has come and gone without seeing the Philippine flag raised to the highest point in the women's singles category. Eala wasn't just playing for herself. She was playing to close a generational gap. She was the top seed, the national hope, and with that title comes a target on your back. Her opponent, Sawanki, is a formidable talent. Let's be clear about that. She is a local favorite, a young Thai player with skill and promise. But in this match, she was more than just a player. She was the avatar of the host nation. The crowd treated her as such. From the moment the players stepped onto court, the dynamic was established. This was not a neutral ground. This was a fortress. The air was thick with tension. It was palpable. You could cut the pressure with a knife. Now, let's talk about the controversy. This is the part that has the tennis forums and the pundits buzzing. Officiating in sports is supposed to be the great equalizer. The referee, the linesman, they're supposed to be the blind arbiters of justice. But what happens when the blindfold slips? Reports and footage from the match indicate that this was not a cleanly officiated game. We are talking about multiple instances, where the officiating seemed to lean heavily, perhaps too heavily, toward the home team. The input we have received highlights at least 3 bad calls. 3. In a game as fast and precise as tennis, 1 bad call can shift momentum. It can break a player's concentration. It can turn a service game on its head. But 3? That begins to feel like a pattern. There were moments where Eala was forced to ask for a replay or question the linesman. There were points awarded to Sawanki that the naked eye, and certainly the replay cameras, suggested were incorrect. Imagine the mental fortitude required to see a ball land out, know it is out, and hear the umpire call it in. Imagine the frustration of knowing the system is working against you. This was exacerbated by the crowd. We need to talk about the tribal cheer. This wasn't polite applause. This was a weaponized atmosphere. The local crowd was cheering for errors. They were humming and protesting, when a close call went to Philippines. They were erupting in warm, thunderous applause every time the tie player won a point, regardless of how it was won. This is a scene rarely seen in professional tennis to this degree. Tennis is a gentleman's game, usually defined by a certain etiquette. That etiquette was left at the door in Thailand. This was raw, unfiltered nationalism pouring down from the stands. For a 20-year-old athlete, this is the ultimate nightmare scenario. You are alone on the court. There are no teammates to pass the ball to. There is no timeout to hide in a huddle. It is just you, your racket, and thousands of people who want you to lose. Under these circumstances, it is normal, expected, even for a player to crack. We have seen veterans, Grand Slam champions, lose their cool in lesser environments. It is easy to get irritated. It is easy to start arguing with the umpire, to throw your racket, to let the tears of frustration well up. That is the human reaction. But Alexandra Eala is not just any human. She is a champion. And this is where the story shifts from a tale of controversy to a tale of legendary resilience. Instead of affecting her, the hostility seemed to sharpen her. Eala showed a terrifying level of silence and focus. This is what we call tunnel vision in the highest tier of athletics. She didn't engage with the crowd. She didn't plead with the umpire beyond the necessary professional inquiries. She didn't let the drama on the sidelines bleed into the geometry of the court. She played the game at her own pace. Think about the discipline that requires. When the crowd is screaming, your heart rate goes up. Adrenaline floods your system. The natural instinct is to speed up, to hit the ball harder, to try and end the point quickly to silence the noise. Eala did the opposite. She relied on discipline. She relied on calculation. Every return had a purpose. She refused to play the game on Thailand's emotional terms. She forced Thailand to play on her technical terms. She controlled the young Thai opponent from the very beginning. The scorecard tells you everything you need to know about the gap in class on that day. 6-1 in the first set. 6-1. That is a demolition. That is a statement. Despite the bad calls, despite the cheering for her errors, she allowed her opponent only a single game. She showcased a wide repertoire of shots, power, speed, finesse. She was clinical. As the first set progressed and the controversy regarding the line calls began to mount, one might have expected Eala to falter in the second set. Maybe the fatigue of fighting the officials would set in? Absolutely not. She left no doubt. The second set ended 6-2. It was a methodical dismantling of the opponent. There is a beautiful irony here. The more the crowd cheered for the host, the more the officials seemed to make questionable calls, the more dominant Eala became. It was as if she was feeding off the negativity, transmuting it into fuel. She exhausted the enemy. She insisted on the correctness of her play, not through words, but through winners. And gradually, the atmosphere in the arena shifted. You could feel it, the intense silence that falls over a partisan crowd when they realize their cheering isn't working. That is the sound of a champion breaking the will of an arena. Every point Eala took was a brick in the wall of silence. She was building around the Thai supporters. She rendered the bias irrelevant. Who cares if the linesman makes a mistake if you hit a winner that lands in the middle of the court? Who cares if the crowd boos if the scoreboard reads 6-1, 6-2? This victory is a massive milestone in Alexandra Eala's career, but it is also a massive milestone for Philippine tennis. To hear the national anthem, Lupang Hinirang, sounding at the podium in Bangkok is a symbol of success that transcends sports. It represents resistance to adversity. It represents success against the expectations of the many. It is a validation of years of training and sacrifice. Many are saying the officiating was biased. The forums are lit up with screenshots and slow-motion replays of questionable calls, and they are right to discuss it. It is important to call out unfairness in sports. But one thing is crystal clear. The Filipina was not convinced by the bias. She did not let it define her match. This success is not just a win on the scorecard. It is a statement that under any pressure, against any crowd, and facing any controversy, the courage and consistency of a true champion will remain dominant. It was not an ordinary final. It was not a simple match against two athletes. It was a battle of wills. What happened in the women's singles final of the SEA Games is a scene rarely seen in tennis because of the sheer disparity between the environment and the outcome. Usually, when the environment is as hostile, the visitor crumbles. Or if they win, it is a narrow, ugly victory. This was neither. This was dominance. From the first point, the gravity of the situation was heavy. The home crowd cheered every local player error, yet Eala remained unmoved. At every close call in favor of the Philippines, there was a hum and protest, yet Eala remained stable. She was a rock in a storm. As we look back on this match, we shouldn't just remember the gold medal. We should remember the 3 bad calls. We should remember the hostile crowd, because those elements are what make the gold medal shine so brightly. If it had been an easy match in a quiet stadium with perfect officiating, it would still be a victory. But it wouldn't be this victory. It wouldn't be this legendary. Alexandra Eala proved that she is not just a tennis player with a great forehand or a great serve. She proved she has the mind of a warrior. She proved that she can walk into the lion's den, take what is hers, and walk out with her head held high, leaving the lion silent. The gold is going home. But more importantly, the respect of the entire tennis world is going with it. The 2025 Southeast Asian Games will be remembered for many things, but in the annals of Philippine sports history, it will be remembered as the day Alexandra Eala defeated not just an opponent, but an entire hostile ecosystem to reclaim glory after 26 long years. That is the news. That is the story. And that is why the world is shocked. Not because she won, but because of what she had to overcome to do it. Stay tuned as we continue to track the aftermath of this historic final.